All right. I'm saying there. All right. We already said this. Can't even find one on my COVID there.
on 3 times now, and my EKGs have been normal.
One.
Good morning.
Okay, just let us know which car.
Sure. Mr. Rottenberg, do you have the
Thank you, Your
redactions
Honor.
for me?
We have one of the two. The other one, we had to make one tweak to, and we're going to do that electronically during my cross-examination. if that's
Okay, all right, so which
But
one do you
we
have
do have
for
one,
me?
Exhibit 214.
214?
We provided.
All right,
Here's another copy.
so the redactions, reserving your other objections, the redactions are okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, so 214 will be in evidence then.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, do you want to get the witness back on the witness stand before we get the jury here?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Dombrowski? All right, let's put her on before we get the jury out. That would be helpful. You can have it. Mr. Rottenberg, you're going to get me 214 after?
Yes,
Okay,
Your Honor. There
so-
was one.
Okay. No, there's 210. This is 214.
Yes, 210.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
We'll put it up on the screen but without the presence of the jury. So the judge will see it at the same time.
Okay,
I just don't have to.
all right. We ready for the jury? We ready for the jury? Yes, okay. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. All right, you can have a seat, Mr. Dombrowski. Mr. Dombrowski, I just want to remind you that you're still under oath at this time, okay? All right, you want to continue with your cross-examination?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Dombrowski.
Good morning.
So I believe we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but you were, in addition to being Mr. Depp's brother, you were his, I believe you referred to it as his personal manager. Is that right?
I have been referred as, yes,
Okay. And so you were responsible for, or had some responsibility for his business affairs, right?
I actually coordinated with other people, but I didn't have full responsibility.
Right. But in terms of the information that you would receive, you would receive information that was relevant to Mr. Depp's business affairs and personal affairs, right?
At times, yes,
And you care about Mr. Depp's well-being, right?
yes,
He's your brother.
Yes.
You love him, right? It was important to you that you, in your role as both his brother and as his manager, be kept informed of his well-being, right?
yes,
And if something was wrong, you'd want to know about that, right?
yes,
Did you ever have reason to believe from anyone other than Amber that Mr. Depp had a problem with drugs or alcohol?
no,
Did you ever have reason to believe from someone other than Amber that Mr. Depp romanticized drug culture?
no,
Did you ever have reason to believe from anyone other than Amber that Mr. Depp didn't take accountability for his actions?
I didn't have reason to believe that, no,
Did you ever have reason to believe from anyone other than Amber that Mr. Depp lacked patience for getting his needs met?
I didn't have reason to believe that, no,
Did you ever have reason to believe from someone other than Amber that Mr. Depp could act like a child if he didn't get immediate satisfaction?
Objection, Your Honor, lack of foundation.
I'm asking if she had.
Overruled, I'll allow it. That's fine.
Let me ask that again. Ms. Dombrowski, did you ever have reason to believe from anyone other than Amber that Mr. Depp could act like a child if he didn't get immediate satisfaction?
Yeah, overruled for this question. We'll see if the follow-up. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Did you ever have reason to believe from someone other than Amber that Mr. Depp could act like a child if he didn't get immediate satisfaction?
I never had reason to believe that.
Did you ever have reason to believe from someone other than Amber that Mr. Depp had fundamental issues with anger?
Okay.
Reason to believe from someone other than Amber that your brother had fundamental issues with anger?
I didn't have reason to believe.
And did you ever have reason to believe from someone other than Amber that your brother didn't grasp the responsibility that he had in his children's lives?
I did not have reason to believe.
Heather, can you pull up Exhibit 268, please? Ms. Dombrowski, is this an email from Dr. David Kipper to you on August 18th, 2014?
It's not being offered yet, so I'll overrule the objection.
I don't have it.
Can you see the document on your screen?
You might have to make it bigger. It's much small.
I don't have anything.
Oh, do you?
I'm
Can you
sorry.
see it there, ma'am?
No.
It's not showing up on her screen.
Just bear with us 1 minute. Thank you.
Do I need to do something?
It's not coming up. Do you have a physical copy that she could look at?
Not that's not marked up. Let me, can you see if you can grab one?
Oh, wait, she's got it.
Oh, okay.
Turn it off and on, see?
That's the trick.
That's the judge rule.
Thank you. To take as much time as you need to read it, Ms. Dombrowski, but my question is this an email from Dr. David Kipper to you on August 18th, 2014?
Yes, it's got my name on there. Yes, from him.
And this is an email that you would have received on or about that date, August 18th, 2014, to the best of your knowledge?
It was sent on that date. Yes.
And it's about Dr. Kipper's treatment of your brother, correct?
I'm actually reading it.
Okay, take your time. Thank you.
Is there, I'm sorry, is there more to the,
There's another page, which we can go to, but my question is just this, and I think we established this. This is an email that you received from Dr. Kipper, correct?
yes,
Your Honor, permission to publish the second paragraph on page 1 into and then the remainder of that paragraph on page 2 with everything redacted, else redacted.
You're asking to enter it into evidence.
Yes, we'd like to enter it into evidence with those redactions.
Sure.
Ms. Dombrowski, if you can take a look at the first page of that email, please. In the second paragraph, well, first of all, who was Dr. Kipper?
Dr. Kipper was the doctor that was helping my brother, helping my brother get help from the pain medication addiction that he had.
He was helping you with his drug addiction.
The pain medication.
And your brother was addicted to pain pills.
He had been taking them for a long time, yes.
Right. And you were instrumental in hiring Dr. Kipper to help your brother try to deal with that, right?
Yes,
And so Dr. Kipper, in his role as someone treating your brother, tried to keep you informed of what was going on with that treatment, right?
yes,
And it was important to you as both his brother, his sister and his manager that you be kept informed of that, right?
it was important as his sister.
And well, and his issues with drugs were having an impact on his career as well, too, right?
No,
And you knew that they were having an impact on his relationship with Amber, right? She's given plenty of testimony about.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
You knew that the drugs were having an impact on his relationship with Amber, right?
I knew that Amber claimed certain things.
But you didn't believe that they were?
I didn't necessarily believe it, no.
Okay. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Isn't it true that on the bottom paragraph on page 1, that Dr. Kipper informed you that your brother was uncomfortable and pessimistic that he will ever be able to stop doing drugs? I'm not asking this.
I'll allow this question, but that's the only question on that point. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Isn't it true that Dr. Kipper informed you in August of 2014 that your brother was uncomfortable and is pessimistic that he will ever be able to stop doing drugs?
He does write this in this email, but this email is an update, I believe, if I'm looking at the dates, and I don't remember all dates, but I know that period and what's written in the email. I think this was during the time they were, where he was getting help from Dr. Kipper.
Right, but that's what he informed you of in your role as his manager and his sister about the status of Mr. Depp's belief that he would be able to stop doing drugs, right?
I'll allow that question.
I think he was informing me of the conversations, yes.
And he also informed you that your brother didn't take accountability for his behaviors, correct?
He does say in here, yes, he wrote that he has no accountability for his behaviors in this time.
And Heather, can you go to the top of page 2, please? In that first and second line, he also told you that your brother has fundamental issues with anger, right?
Your Honor, objection, your second. No exception applied.
All right,
It's the same exception that applied to the other ones. This is what he informed her.
we need to move on though. Okay.
Heather, you can take that down. So you just testified, Ms. Dombrowski, that you understood from Amber that drugs and alcohol were impacting their relationship, but that you didn't necessarily believe that, right?
Right.
And you didn't necessarily share those concerns, right?
Right.
Did you have an occasion to speak with Amber after a plane flight from Boston to Los Angeles in May of 2014?
Objection, your second.
I just asked if she spoke with her. I'm not asking what the context.
Just spoke, I'll overrule the objection at this time.
I don't recall specific times speaking with Amber like that.
Did you become aware of an incident on a plane flight from Boston to Los Angeles in May of 2014?
Objection, lack of foundation.
Foundation objection. If you,
She's testified that she,
I'll sustain the objection as foundation if you can lay a foundation.
if something happened in your brother's life that was notable, you wanted to know about it. You testified to that, right?
Objection, also speculation.
Yes, sir.
It's a foundation question. She's testified that she had insight into his daily life.
I don't see it as a foundation question, so I'm gonna sustain the objection if you wanna.
Okay.
lay a foundation.
You were kept apprised of the goings on in Johnny's life, correct?
For the most part, yes.
Yeah, and you testified yesterday you saw him just about every day, correct?
What I testified to yesterday, saw him every day, was when he was with the family of Vanessa.
And you still saw him, or were in touch with him fairly frequently as his business manager and as his sister when he was with Amber, correct?
Less frequent,
Okay, but still with some frequency, right?
yes.
And if an event had happened that was potentially harmful to your brother, you would want to know about that, right?
Yes.
And
All right, I'll sustain asked and answered. Next question.
you made an effort to make yourself available to Miss Heard to talk to you about issues she was having with your brother, correct?
I'm excuse me, I made an effort to talk to her anytime I felt she needed to speak.
Somebody's trying to call us.
It's kind of a pleasant ringtone.
I didn't answer it, so. I don't know.
Ms. Dombrowski, in addition to just Amber believing it, you believed that your brother needed help, didn't you?
Objection made.
Vague.
You believed that your brother needed help with drugs and alcohol, didn't
Overruled
you?
it. Overruled the objection. Go ahead. Sorry.
I believed on the one medication I was concerned about.
And you wanted your brother to get better from his addictions, right?
I wanted to address the medication that he was on.
And you understood that Amber wanted the same thing, wanted him to get better for both him and for her, correct?
Objection, also speculation. What you were on.
I'll sustain as to what Amber wanted.
Now, do you recall meeting with Ms. Heard on May 25th, 2014?
I don't recall.
Let's pull up Exhibit 234, please.
You said that was 234?
234, yes.
Thank you.
The non-redacted version. No. Mr. Dombrowski, this is a multi-page exhibit that we can, we're not going to ask you about all the pages, but is this a text message chain between Amber and you on May 25th, 2014?
Yes,
And those are your texts in gray on the left, right?
yes,
And Ms. Heard's texts in blue on the right?
yes.
Your Honor, we have a version of this exhibit with Ms. Heard's text redacted and the personal identifiers redacted that I'd like to ask the witness about and publish to the jury. I'm happy.
First, you want to admit into evidence before you publish it to the jury.
Correct,
So let's-
right. So I'm just previewing that. Would you like me to go through the unredacted version with the witness first?
No.
Or,
Well, if it's just her text, how is that probative if it's just her text?
because it's her text about what two things. One, it's her text about what she wanted for her brother. We'll get to those on page 2.
So she still has the same hearsay problem.
I'm allowed to ask her about her own words and what her feelings sort
You
of
can
wrote.
ask her about it, but it's not coming into evidence.
Okay, well, okay.
Okay.
Ms. Dombrowski, did you reach out to Ms. Heard on May 25th, 2014,
Yes,
asking her if she wanted to talk?
yes.
Why did you do that?
I
Did you do that because you had been made aware of an issue about your brother's behavior on a flight earlier that day, the day before?
I don't recall why I did that.
You don't recall why you did that?
No,
Or you have no awareness or memory of a flight earlier that day or the day before?
I don't recall all flights at all times. I don't have any specific memory of anything.
If you can turn to page 2, Heather. If you can look at your third text down, Your Honor, or Ms. Dombrowski, you say to him, or to Ms. Heard, you say to Ms. Heard, I love him so much, but he needs help, and I don't have all the information to help alone. Do you see that?
Objection, Your Honor, this is all hearsay.
I'll allow that question. That's fine.
I do see that.
And what did you mean when you said he needs help?
I don't recall the actual timing of it, but I wanted to help him with that medication that he was on. That I know. And I know that I wanted to be able to be helpful in life because they were arguing all the time.
And I believe you testified earlier that you didn't actually have concerns about your brother's dependence on drugs, right?
No, I said that I did have about the medication.
Just the pain pills,
It was the pain pills.
nothing else?
I didn't have concern.
And so when you said he needs help, that's what you were referring to, is that you believe that your brother needed help with pills.
Objection, Your Honor, this is an ask.
May I approach, Your Honor?
All right.
Heather, can you please pull up the pages ending in 934? Start with that, please. Actually, let's go to 936.
Just for the record, this is still in Exhibit 234. It's just base stamp page 936. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Ms. Dombrowski, do you see the message that you sent to Amber 3 down where you said he is going to see the doctor in the morning with 3 exclamation points?
Yes.
Tell me what you remember about that. Were you referring to, when you said he, you were referring to your brother, right?
Yes.
And by doctor, you meant an addiction doctor? Is that right?
I believe I would have meant Dr. Kipper.
Okay. And what was, you'd agree that it's fairly rare to get an appointment for a doctor the next day, right?
I'll allow it. It's fine.
I don't know that it's rare to get an appointment the next day.
Well, Dr. Kipper wasn't an emergency room doctor, right?
No.
So what was so urgent about your brother's need to see a doctor that he was going to see Dr. Kipper the next morning when you texted this at 7:35 p.m.?
I don't know that it was urgent. I think I was happy that he was going to see the doctor.
And you were happy he was going to see the doctor because you thought he'd finally realized the problem that his drug addiction was having on himself and others, correct? That's why you were happy, right?
I was happy he was going to see the doctor because I was concerned about the pain medication he was on.
And you were concerned about what that pain medication did to your brother, right?
Yes.
You were concerned about the effect that had on his life, right?
I was concerned about him.
And you were concerned about the effect that that drug addiction had on other relationships in his life as well, correct? I'm going through.
That's fine. I'll allow it.
You can answer.
I didn't see anything that was happening necessarily in life to be concerned about others, me. It was him I was concerned about.
So you didn't see, your testimony today is that you didn't see any effect that your brother's drug problem was having on anyone else other than him.
My concern was him. I wasn't focused on anything beyond that.
Right. You weren't concerned about the effect that it could be having on anyone else. Is that your testimony?
Again, my concern was him.
Can you pull up page 937, please? And when you misheard the text at the top of the page at 9:20 p.m. on May 25th, 2014, and you said, I just meant I will help in getting him help. What did that mean?
It's help with Dr. Kipper, I believe.
You were referring to getting your brother help for his drug addictions, correct?
I was referring to getting him help with the medication that he was on.
And if you go to page 938, please. When you told Amber at the bottom of that page at 10:26 p.m., I think you need to tell him you are scared and you can't deal. What did you mean by that? I think you need to tell him you are scared and you can't deal. What did you mean by that? Asking her what she meant with one of her statements. It's no different from the statement I just asked her about.
I'm just not sure what the prior inconsistent statement would be for this, which was,
Well, that she's testified that all of Amber's concerns were overblown.
okay.
drug abuse, you were concerned for your brother and your brother only. Is that right?
I was concerned for my brother, yes.
And only your brother. Is that right?
That, my brother was my focus.
Now, you as in your capacity as his personal manager, you were often apprised of your brother's performance on movie sets, right? Did you have occasion to communicate with studios, for example, about movies that your brother was shooting?
Yes,
And studio executives could feel free to contact you about your brother's work?
yes, they mostly contacted the agent.
Okay. And who was the agent at the time? Is that
Tracy.
Tracy Jacobs? And that's your brother, Mr. Depp, fired Miss Jacobs in or around 2017. Is that right?
I don't recall when.
How long was Miss Jacobs his agent?
20-something years.
And he fired Miss Jacobs at some point, right?
Yes.
After his divorce from Amber?
I don't recall exactly when he fired her.
Do you recall whether it was before or after he divorced Amber?
I don't recall. Sorry.
But in any event, you had frequent communications with Miss Jacobs about your brother's work, correct?
Excuse me.
And you, in the course, in your capacity as his manager, it came to your attention that he was late to movie sets, correct? You testified that you had frequent contact with Ms. Jacobs, his agent, right?
Yes,
And that contact included when he was shooting movies?
yes,
And that contact included communications relating to his conduct on set? Laying the foundation.
Well, it sounds like your foundation is going to be based on hearsay, which is what we're going to be getting to.
Well,
If you can lay a foundation
Yeah.
without it being based on hearsay.
did you have personal knowledge of your brother being late to a set? Movie shoots?
would that be if I was physically there? Is that what you're asking? Or,
Your Honor, no, first I'd ask you to instruct Mr. Chu not to shake his head, nod his head to the witness. That's inappropriate.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Well, he was.
All right, well, I'll keep a lookout.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Dombrowski, your brother told you himself that he was late to movie shoots, didn't he? Party admission.
I'll allow that.
I don't think he came to me and said I'm late to movie shoots, no.
You learned from your brother that he was late to movie shoots, correct?
I don't think he would have come to me to talk about it,
I'll allow
no.
it.
You learned, so you never had any communications with your brother about issues that he had being on time to movie sets? Is that your testimony?
No, what I'm saying is I worked with him for years. You know, there was never really a continuous topic of whether he was late to a movie set, him and I having a conversation.
He told you he had been late to movie sets, correct?
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Can you pull up 348, please?
348.
If you can you blow it up so you just see the second email down, Heather? And that second email down is an email from you to Tracy Jacobs on February 27th, 2015, right?
I'll allow that question. Let's see where we go.
Second, all the way down in here.
The second one down from the top. Sent at 12:50.
Oh, sorry. Yes, that's from me to Tracy.
Now, in the second sentence of that email, you write, he told me 1 to 1.5 hours, but not 2. Yes, he was 2.5 hours late one day and 7 hours recently. Do you see that?
I do see that.
And when you said he told me, you're referring to your brother, Johnny Depp, admitting to you that he was late to movie sets, right?
I don't know that I'm referring to him now.
In any event, it was a problem. As personal manager, you knew that it was a problem for the studios if he showed up late to set, right?
I knew that on this particular film, there were times when he was late to set.
You did know on this particular
On
film.
this particular film.
And this particular film is Pirates 5, correct?
Yes,
Pirates of the Caribbean 5? And he was filming that in Australia, right?
yes,
And this email was sent on February 27th, 2015, right?
yes,
So you knew that as he was filming Pirates of the Caribbean 5 in 2015, early 2015, that he had problems being late to the set, right?
I wouldn't call it problems being late to set, but he was occasionally late to set.
Late enough that Disney executives called you to discuss that, right?
All right. I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
And you knew that this wasn't the only movie that he had been late to set for, correct? She's testified about her close involvement in his personal affairs when he was shooting movies.
If you can lay a foundation, not based on hearsay.
Have you talked to your brother when he was filming each of the movies that he filmed, right?
Yes,
And with respect to Pirates 5, he told you that he had been late to the set, right?
no, I don't recall him telling me he was late to set.
Okay, so despite the fact that you said he told me, you don't recall whether that was him or not.
I don't know I don't know that the he in that refers to him.
You were also, I believe you testified yesterday that you were closely involved in the financial aspects of your brother's life, right?
I was closely involved in speaking with the representatives, but I wasn't really closely involved in, his financial world. That wasn't my thing.
And your brother's, the income that he made from movies or other commercial opportunities that he had, that funded of him and it flowed, or it came in through his companies, right? And then the money that your brother made came in through his companies, correct?
I don't really understand your question.
Well, you're the president of one of those companies, Infinitum Nile, right?
Yes,
So if your brother signs a movie contract, the money, is it paid directly to him or does it come in through a company that he's owns?
Infinitum now is completely a separate entity, so how he gets paid that's the business managers.
Okay, you were involved with discussions of opportunities that he had to shoot movies, correct?
Sometimes, yes.
And you were in close contact with others on Mr. Depp's team about opportunities that arose, right?
Yes,
Okay, including Tracy Jacobs,
yes,
his agent,
yes,
including you. In fact, you would be in contact with studios directly as well. It's from time to time, right?
yes.
And Mr. Jacobs, well, strike that. In your capacity as his personal manager, you became aware of financial distress that your brother was in, correct? Because you were familiar with his financial affairs, right?
I was somewhat familiar. That was the other representative's area.
Did you have occasion to become familiar with whether he was undergoing financial distress such that he needed to get movies, a certain number of movies a year?
Tracy had a certain number, no, excuse me, a certain number of movies per year that she wanted him to do.
And the certain number of movies a year, to your understanding, the certain number of movies a year that your brother had to do was necessary to stave off financial distress, correct?
The certain number of movies per year, Tracy would push for a certain number of movies per year because it was beneficial to her.
That's the only reason she pushed for a certain number of
Oh.
movies a year?
That's the main reason Tracy would push for a certain number of movies per year, yes.
Not because it was beneficial to Mr. Depp,
If it was beneficial to Mr. Depp, then it was going to be beneficial to Tracy.
but just because it was beneficial to Tracy doesn't mean it wasn't beneficial to Mr. Depp or his companies, correct?
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Now, at some point, you became aware when he was filming Pirates 5 in Australia, you became aware of an injury that he suffered to his finger, right?
Yes,
And you were involved in trying to cover up how it happened, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow the question.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
You were involved in helping to cover up how the finger injury happened, right?
I don't understand cover up.
You were involved in making sure that people on Mr. Depp's team didn't say how he hurt his hand, correct?
I'll allow it if she can answer.
You can answer.
We certainly didn't want any press to know about it. So that's, to keep it from that.
And because you didn't want any press to know about his finger injury, you told Mr. Depp's personal assistant to make sure that to say that he wasn't sure how Mr. Depp hurt his hand, correct? You instructed him to say that.
If it was someone that I would be concerned that the word would get out to the press, I would have done that.
So it was okay to you to tell people to lie to protect your brother, right?
It wasn't necessarily a lie. I didn't know how he hurt his finger myself at the time, because I'm pretty sure I know the time frame you're talking about is when it first happened.
And you have no personal knowledge to this day of how he hurt his finger, correct? Because you weren't there.
I wasn't there.
Heather, can you pull up Exhibit 210 redacted, please? Your Honor, this is the exhibit we discussed yesterday. If the court and Mr. Chu agrees with the redactions, I'd just like to publish it to the jury and admit it into evidence.
The two tenants are already in evidence. That's the one you gave me this morning, correct? No, that's a different,
Yeah, I think that was 214.
that was 214. I'm sorry, I got it backwards. This is 210.
And I believe that this
follows.
is just one page. Or it's two pages, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's these 2 pages that we talked about yesterday.
Reserving your objections, are the redactions correct?
The redactions are correct. We reserve our redactions.
Okay, that's fine. I will enter 214 into evidence over objections.
Permission to publish, Your
All
Honor?
right, yes, sir.
Can you blow that up, please? So, Ms. Dombrowski, we discussed this a little bit yesterday. This is the text exchange between you and Ms. Hurd on February 3rd, 2014, where Ms. Hurd says JD is on a bender, and your response is, "Where are the kids?" Correct?
Yes.
Just scroll down, please. go to the next page, please. Scroll down to the bottom, please. And then you text Amber, worry about everything. Is that right?
I wrote the words worry about everything. It was myself. I was speaking about myself.
And you tell her, I don't love any of it, correct?
Right.
And
All right, sustained. We did go through this yesterday, but go ahead.
And 2 days later is when you sent your brother the text messages that said, stop booze, stop coke, stop pills, correct?
I'm not looking at it. I don't recall the timing of it.
Nothing further. Thank you.
All right, redirect.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Dombrowski.
Good morning.
During Mr. Rottenborn's examination yesterday and again this morning, he spent a lot of time talking to you about your brother's alleged drug and alcohol abuse. Do you remember that?
Yes,
You're not denying that Mr. Depp ever used alcohol or drugs, are you?
Objection leading.
It's redirect, Your Honor.
That's still leading. I'll sustain this leading if you want to rephrase your question.
You also testified several times in response to Mr. Rottenborn's questions that Ms. Heard tends to say things in a more dramatic manner. Do you recall that testimony?
yes.
Why did you say that?
I've had my own interaction one-on-one with Ms. Heard, so I know a bit about her personality. She would present information to me that was not necessarily information that was supported by everybody else that was around. And I've spent a lot of years working with my brother. We have a close team. It's many years of trusted people helping, make sure that everything in life, it works out and goes smoothly. But all those people where I would have a daily contact, whether it's about scheduling or just how the day's going for all the years, those people never said the same thing.
Objection hearsay, Your Honor.
I think it was responsive to the question.
Well, I'll sustain the last sentence.
Yeah,
Just
Your Honor,
the last sentence of it, that's all.
understood, Your
Okay.
Honor. I think it goes to state of mind rather than the
Right.
truth.
I just did the last sentence. I'll sustain just the last sentence.
Thank you,
Strike
Ryan.
the last sentence, okay?
And do you recall your testimony yesterday when you stated that after the phenomenal success of Pirates One, one of the changes to Mr. Depp's, your brother's personal life, was that there were a lot more people around him after that? Do you recall
Yes.
that?
Yes.
When Johnny and Miss Heard became involved in a relationship several years later, were there still a lot of people around them, your brother, on a regular basis?
Yes.
Who were those people?
He had assistants, he had security, he had, property managers, people that helped at the house. He had quite a few people that were around all the time.
How often did you communicate with those people?
I communicated daily, not necessarily with each one of those people, but I communicated pretty much daily with people within the world, the circle.
Did any of those people ever raise the same concerns that Ms. Heard did?
Objection hearsay.
All right.
Again, it goes to state of mind.
I'll sustain the objection as to hearsay. Next question.
What, if any, concerns were expressed about Johnny's behavior when using alcohol?
Objection hearsay.
Again, it goes to state of mind.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's all I have.
All right. Is this witness subject to recall?
I do not believe so, Your Honor.
She's subject to recall?
Yeah, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Brusky, you're free to go, or you can stay in the courtroom. It's up to you, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dombrowski.
All right, your next witness. Good morning, ma'am. Isaac Peruch. All right. We'll get him. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. While we're waiting for him, can you spell his last name for the court reporter for me?
Yes, Baruch.
Thank you.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case on the penalty of law?
Hey, there's a thing here, transcript.
You
thing.
can just
Is,
keep it there, sir. Have a seat.
Okay.
Put the microphone close to you, please. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Would you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Isaac Baruch, ISAAC BARUCH.
Mr. Baruch, where do you currently live?
I live in Los Angeles.
Do you know the plaintiff in this case, Johnny Depp?
Yes.
How do you know Mr. Depp?
I know him since teenagers. We met in Florida.
And could you tell the jury a little bit about your experience meeting Mr. Depp when you were teenagers in Florida?
Yeah, we were both playing in bands. We had mutual friends, and that we met in probably 1980. And yeah, we hit it off. We got along with each other. And yeah.
How often did you see Mr. Depp when you were teenagers together in Florida?
A few times a month. I'd say it could be more, a little more or whatever, because, you know, we'd see each other at parties and clubs, nightclubs where the bands played. Yeah, like that.
And for how long were you both living in Florida and seeing each other somewhat regularly?
Well, we met in like 1980, so and then we both moved away. He moved to California, I moved to New York. What was that, 80? From 80 to 83. That was that, like 4 years?
What were your impressions of Mr. Depp while you were both living in Florida at the same time?
Oh, he's a sweet kid. A sweet guy.
Sir, wait, there's an objection.
Oh.
Thank you.
What his impressions were back then.
And what's the relevance?
Just establishing the background and the relationship, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question, please.
Mr. Baruch, did there come a time when Mr. Depp moved away from Florida?
Yeah.
And where did he move to, if you know?
Like I said before, he moved to California.
At some point in time, did you also move to California?
Yeah.
And did you reconnect with Mr. Depp when you got there?
Yeah.
Around what time was that?
Sometime during the first year, and then afterwards, after the first year, more and stuff. Yeah.
About what year would you say that was?
Oh, I moved to California in September of 85.
And did you know if Mr. Depp was working when you arrived in California in 1985?
Well, I knew he was pursuing acting at that time. Yeah, he's looking for work because he's pursuing acting.
How often did you see Mr. Depp when you first moved to California?
Well, like I said, the first year, a few times. Afterwards, I had a friend whose girlfriend lived in the same building as Johnny. And so then hanging out over there, I ended up seeing Johnny more often. And plus my friend who I'm talking about, whose girlfriend lived in the same building, he was playing in a band and they needed another guitar player and Johnny ended up joining the band. So we were hanging out a lot more often.
What were you doing when you moved out to California?
I was pursuing music also, working retail jobs and trying to get a band, make a band, you know?
Did there come a time when you began working for Mr. Depp?
Oh, yeah.
When was that?
Oh, that's later on. That's like in 1993.
What were you doing for Mr. Depp when you started working for him in 1993?
Well, he owned a place called the Viper Room, and which is a music venue, nightclub, bar, and bands play. And it was already open for 6 months. And the girl who was working, the person who was working as office manager didn't want to work there anymore. So the guy who was running the place for Johnny, who's a friend named Sal Jenko, another Florida friend from back in 1980, when we all first meet, he calls me up and he says, "Hey, Isaac, do you want to work this job?"
I don't think it's offered for the truth of the matter.
I mean,
That's fine. I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
At some point in time, did you stop working at the Viper Room for Mr. Depp?
Oh, yeah.
When was that?
Well, I worked from 93 to 98. In 98, I moved away.
Did you return to LA again at some point?
Yes, I did.
When was that?
I moved back December of 2002.
What did you do for work when you returned to LA?
Well, for 2 weeks, I worked at an art gallery, and then I went back to the Viper Room on New Year's Eve.
How long were you working at the Viper Room at that point in time?
It was another year, and then the place changed hands.
Were you working on anything else while you were working at the Viper Room in that time frame?
Yeah, I was sidewise. I was teaching myself art.
And what steps were you taking to teach yourself art at that time?
Books, learning how to draw and paint, and taking community college classes.
At some point in time, did you begin pursuing art on a full-time scale?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, I was working at the Viper Room, taking classes, and then at one point, the club changed hands completely after a year, 2004. And I was given a choice of either keep working for these new owners or Johnny out of his pocket was going to give a severance pay to whoever didn't want to work there anymore. So I took the severance pay, and then it helped me continue on to finish community classes, private classes, and then be able to transfer to Cal State University.
And did you get a degree from Cal State University?
Yes, I did.
What degree was that?
BFA,
What year?
2010.
After you received your BFA, did you continue to pursue art full-time?
Yeah.
Did Mr. Depp ever express an interest in your art?
Yeah.
When was the first time that happened?
Well, first time you saw a painting in 2008. And then the next time was 2012. I had made a painting and sent it to my best friend, in an email. And he forwarded it to Johnny, and Johnny emailed back saying, "Hey, when Isaac wants to sell that, whenever he wants to sell that, to go ahead and get in touch with me because I want to buy it.
Did Mr. Depp ever buy that painting?
No,
Why not?
because when I brought over paintings, I had moved back to California, and I brought over a bunch of paintings for him to look at and see if he wants any, to buy any. And he looked at me and says, "I got an idea. How about I be your patron, and we put together an art show, make a body of work, and then I'll throw a party and invite people, and I'll sell the stuff for you, and you could keep all the money." So he didn't buy any paintings there. Instead, he offered me a complete patronship.
So what did you understand he meant by becoming your patron?
Well, he was going to financially make it possible for me to just paint every day and put together a body of work, so that way then it could be sold.
How did he plan to do that?
Objection to what he planned on doing.
What did you understand he planned to do
Well,
to make that possible for you?
I could tell you that what it included was that the next day I ended up moving into I moved into a art studio penthouse at the Eastern Columbia building. It was, listen, I got a place for you to go ahead and live and work and put this body of art together, and I'll take care of you. You don't have to worry about anything.
And what was the place where you were going to live that Mr. Depp offered you?
The Eastern Columbia building.
Did you take him up on that offer to live at the Eastern Columbia building?
Yeah, of course.
And how did that make you feel?
I started crying. One day you're in your mother's garage selling paintings for $100, $200, $300 on eBay. Next thing you know, it's an art show, and like you don't have to worry about diddly squat. Of course. I was flipping out.
When did you move into the Eastern Columbia building?
The next day after we met and we talked. The next day, I get a phone call from a guy named Kevin Murphy, who is working for Johnny, and I go and he says, "Hey, meet me at this address." And I go and I meet him, and here I am in front of this building. This is a beautiful building. This is like, it's whatever, 13 floors, but it's like from the 1930s, some Art Deco, beautiful building. And I'm looking, I'll go, all right, this is unreal. What, there's gonna be, all right, it's gonna be one of these apartments or whatever, one of these places here. I go in with Kevin Murphy. He takes me all the way up to the roof. We go into penthouse 2, and I walk in and I'm like crying, going, it's beautiful. This is like a mansion situation to me.
Mr. Burch, how long did you end up living at the Eastern Columbia building?
3 years and 7 months.
Your Honor, I'd like to show the witness plaintiff's exhibit 116.
All right, 116.
Am I looking at something?
You will in a second, sir. It's not on the screen. I'm just gonna pull up a paper copy for a moment. We can see it, but he can't see it. Good job. All right,
Thank you.
we'll just use a paper copy. We'll get this resolved at lunchtime.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Baruch, do you recognize the document that you're looking at that's been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 116?
Yeah,
What is it?
this is the floor plan of the roof, all the penthouses up on the roof at the Eastern Columbia.
And that's the building where you lived starting in March 2013, is that right?
I moved in the first week of March 2013. Yeah.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to move into evidence, Plaintiff's Exhibit 116, please.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, 116 in evidence, you can publish to the jury.
Is it, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I just want to be sure that.
Yeah, they can see it in the gallery, see it. We'll just have to work on
All
that
right,
screen.
great. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mhm.
Mr. Baruch, can you describe for the jury what is depicted here in Exhibit 116?
Yeah, that so the right side of this graph is there's a pool there, there's another top of another apartment that actually starts on the floor below. It's a 2-story apartment. But there's a pool there, and there's a gym workout room. And the left side, there's at the bottom, there's an X, and that's the elevator. And so you walk out of the elevator, you make a little left, and there's part of Penthouse 5 right there, straight ahead. And then you keep walking straight, and then you make a left, a sharp left, and the actual Penthouse 5 is straight ahead. And then you hang a right, and you start walking up that way. On your right is going to be Penthouse 1. On your left is going to be Penthouse 4. When you get to the end of that corridor, is the door for Penthouse 3. And if you hang a right, oh, look, there it is. It came up on the screen. And if you hang a right and you go down to the end, is the door to Penthouse 2. That's the apartment that I lived in.
And who did you understand owned these penthouses?
Oh, Johnny owned them all.
Which one did you live in?
Penthouse 2.
Was anyone else living in the penthouses at the time that you moved in March 2013?
No, I was the first one to move in. I moved in the first week of March, and then a couple of weeks later, 2-3 weeks later, then Johnny and Amber moved in. And then after that, the next one to move in is Rocky, Raquel Pennington, Amber's friend. And then at some point, her sister moved in, Whitney. And also at some point, Rocky's boyfriend moved in with her in Penthouse 1.
So I believe you just testified that Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard moved in shortly after you moved in, is that right?
Yes.
And which penthouse did they move into?
Penthouse 3.
And then you testified, I believe, that someone named Rocky Pennington moved in.
Yes.
Who was Rocky Pennington?
Amber Heard's friend from Texas, and I think they made, I don't know, I'm not sure if they told me that they moved out there together or something like that, but yeah, her friend.
And later you said that her boyfriend moved in with her. What was his name?
Josh Drew.
And which unit did they live in?
Penthouse 1.
And I believe you also testified that Whitney moved in. Who was Whitney?
Whitney Heard. She's married, so she's got a different last name. I'm not sure what it is. But Amber's sister, Whitney.
And which of the units did Ms. Heard's sister live in?
4.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about your relationships with Ms. Heard, Ms. Pennington, Mr. Drew, and Ms. Heard, sister?
Oh, yeah, I was friends with all of them. I loved them all. They all treated me with respect. It was great. I'm an old-time friend of Johnny's, living there, and we were looking out for each other. We became great friends. I fell in love with all of them.
When you moved in to Penthouse 2, you were working on an art show with Mr. Depp, right?
Yeah, that's the entire reason that I'm there, is to work and put together this art show.
Did you have a time frame that you expected to be able to put on that art show?
At first, when we first powwowed this idea, when we talked about, all right, what do we do? What's this show going to be? How many paintings is it going to be? And we came up with a number. Okay, so there's going to be a certain body of work. I'm not a known person. I'm just some schnook painter. If I was a famous painter, I could make 5 paintings, and the room will fill up. But so we decided, okay, like 25 pieces of work, large scale. And Johnny says, hey, how long do you think this will take? I said, I've never done it before. I don't know, maybe a few months.
And were you able to complete the paintings in a few months?
No, it's after. It took me in order to make 2 large scale paintings, it took me like almost 2 months. And I'm start freaking out, going, I'm only got 2 paintings, and all right, I got to do 25. I said a few months. So I ended up going to Johnny's place and saying, hey, look, dude, this is going to take a lot longer than a few months. I could only make 2 paintings.
And how did Mr. Depp react?
He looks at me and he starts laughing and he says, Ike, don't worry. I do not care. I just want you to paint however long it takes. I want you to paint every day.
During the course of time that you were living at the Eastern Columbia building, did Mr. Depp ever give you any money?
Yeah.
How much did he give you?
Over a period of 4 years of the patronship, I ballpark calculated probably around 100,000.
And how did you come up with that amount?
Well, from the first get-go, when I said, hey, look, I need dough, to buy stuff and to, to do this, I ended up getting an envelope the next day with $5,000 in it. And then I budgeted it and stretched it out, and and so every few months I get an envelope. It could have that I didn't know if it was going to be the same amount, but it ended up being the same amount, which was wow. So basically around $5,000 every few months. So in a year, it's 20 grand. But then also there was maybe a year or two, might have been that it was 5 times I had to ask for dough, or it was 4. And then on top of it, so right there, that's could be 80 grand or 90 grand. And then on top of that, I ended up getting a herniated disc. He sent me to the doctors to get an MRI and see the doctor, get an MRI. And there was 10 weeks of therapy that he covered. So I throw that in there too. And I ended up coming up with the figure of 100 grand. Could be a little less, could be a little more.
What was your understanding of whether Mr. Depp intended to be paid back for that money that he provided to you?
There's no, that's not even the thought of being paid back. This is something that he wanted to see happen. This is something he invested in. He knew he was going to spend money to make it happen, for me to survive and paint and create this thing that he wanted to see because he liked the art. And so there was no payback. And the whole thing was about him selling the art so that way I keep all the money. He didn't expect anything. He was doing this as a friend, as he's done with many other friends.
I'll sustain the last sentence of his statement. All right, we've done that, but that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Baruch, did there come a time when you decided that you planned to pay Mr. Depp back?
Oh, yeah. That for me, when he's told me he had money situation going on, for me, it was like, this guy just changed. He's been making it possible for me to live and work and make product, and I'm by that expense, I'm part of the problem. It's like, how do I help him? How can I help him? I mean, he's sharing his sandwich with me, you know? It's like, how do I share that my sandwich with him? Give him that half to make something up. You don't not do anything. And the only thing I got is paintings. So I stood up when he's telling me what he's telling me about his money situation. And for me, I said, hey, if these things ever sell, we got to split this 50-50, and I ain't taking no for an answer. Something I got to put something into this. So for me, I looked at it like he has to get something back.
Mr. Baruch, during your time living at the Eastern Columbia building, did you develop a relationship with the defendant in this case, Ms. Heard?
Yeah.
And did you get along with Ms. Heard?
I loved her. I fell in love with her just like Johnny fell in love with her. I fell in love with her. She's totally respectful, gracious to me, that she's got great teeth, that she treated me with complete respect. Anytime I walk into the humor-wise, total locker room humor, demented humor, totally laughed at, the jokes, made the jokes, totally got along with her. Every time I walked into their place, Isaac, you want something to eat? Isaac, you want something to drink?